Why do your most brilliant ideas die in your mind? Why does that business plan, that difficult conversation, that creative project, the one you know could change everything, sit gathering digital dust, stuck in the drafts folder of your life? Why does the gap between your ambition and your action feel like an impossible, uncrossable canyon? You're smart, you're capable, you have the ideas, and yet you find yourself stuck, spinning your wheels in a mud of your own making while the world passes you by. You watch others, perhaps even people you know are no smarter than you, launch their projects, make their moves, and build their lives. And you're left holding the one question that has become your jailer. What if? What if I fail? What if it's not perfect? What if they laugh at me? What if I'm not ready? What if I choose the wrong thing? This is the prison of what if. It's a cell built not of steel bars, but of endless hypotheticals. Its walls are papered with pro-con lists. Its guard is your own brilliant but terrified mind. And the warden? That's the paralyzing, suffocating fog we call overthinking. You know the feeling. It's 2 a.m. and your mind is a courtroom where you are both the prosecutor and the defendant, endlessly litigating a decision you need to make. It's the 3 hours you spend researching the perfect microphone before you'll even dare to record the first sentence of your podcast. It's the email you write and rewrite a dozen times until the words lose all meaning. It's the someday that never, ever arrives. This state of analysis paralysis feels productive, doesn't it? It masquerades as diligence. It feels like work. You tell yourself, I'm just doing my homework. I'm just being careful. I need to think this through. But let's be honest with ourselves. This isn't preparation. It's stagnation. It's a holding pattern. It is the most sophisticated form of procrastination your mind has ever invented. And here is the raw, unvarnished truth I need you to understand before we can take another step. Overthinking is not a personality trait. It is not a sign of intelligence, though it often plagues the intelligent. It is not a character flaw, a moral failing, or a symptom of laziness. Overthinking is a biological survival mechanism. You are not broken. You are not weak. You are not incapable. You are simply running ancient software on a modern machine. Your brain, the 3-pound universe of tissue and electricity between your ears, is a masterpiece of evolution. It has kept our species alive for hundreds of thousands of years. But the world it was designed for is gone. That ancient programming, the operating system that saved us from predators on the savannah, is now the very thing causing us to freeze in the face of a crowded inbox. Think of it this way. Your brain is still wired to protect you from saber-toothed tigers. In the wild, hesitation was death, but recklessness was also death. A rustle in the bushes required a rapid, high-stakes calculation. Is it the wind, opportunity to keep foraging, or a predator, imminent threat? Your ancestors who survived were the ones who had a hair-trigger threat detection system. The ones who overanalyzed the danger. What if it's a tiger, and froze or ran, lived? The ones who just blissfully ignored the rustle, well, they didn't pass on their genes. You are the direct descendant of the worriers. You have inherited the what-if gene. Let's meet the key players in your head. There are 2 parts of your brain in a constant tug of war, and this battle is the source of all your overthinking. First, you have your amygdala. Think of the amygdala as your inner alarm. It's an ancient primal part of your brain, part of the limbic system. It doesn't use logic. It doesn't speak English. It operates on one principle and one principle only: safety. Its job is to scan your environment, physical, social, and even imaginary, and scream, "Danger!" at the first sign of a potential threat. To your amygdala, a threat is anything that involves uncertainty, risk, novelty, or the possibility of social rejection. Its response is immediate and powerful. It's the fight, flight, or freeze button. And its primary strategy? To flood your body with stress hormones, like cortisol and adrenaline, to get you ready to react, not to think. And here's the kicker. Your amygdala cannot tell the difference between a saber-toothed tiger and an email from your boss. It can't distinguish between the life-or-death threat of being exiled from the tribe and the modern-day fear of posting your opinion on social media. It sees risk, and it pulls the alarm. Second, you have your prefrontal cortex, or PFC. Think of the PFC as your CEO. This is the highly evolved modern part of your brain, right behind your forehead. Your PFC is what makes you human. It's your center for logic, rational thought, long-term planning, complex decision-making, and execution. It's the part of you that holds your goals, your dreams, and your ambitions. Your CEO is brilliant, it's sophisticated, it's logical. But it has one critical weakness: it's slow. Compared to the amygdala, which is an electrical impulse, the PFC is a committee meeting. Now picture the scene. You have a great idea. I'm going to start my own business. Your PFC, the CEO, gets excited. It pulls out a whiteboard. Okay, great. Let's map out the first steps. We'll need a website, a product list, a marketing plan. But the instant your PFC types "how to build a website" into a search bar, your amygdala, your inner alarm, constantly eavesdropping, hears the word "new" and "unknown" and smashes the panic button. Danger! Danger! What if no one buys anything? What if you go broke? What if your family thinks you're an idiot? What if you fail and everyone sees it? This is a threat. Shut it down. Shut it all down. This is the amygdala hijack. Suddenly, your body is flooded with cortisol. Your heart beats faster. Your palms get sweaty. Your focus narrows. And your poor PFC, the logical CEO, is completely drowned out. The committee meeting is over. The alarm is blaring too loudly. All that sophisticated, logical planning power is taken offline, sidelined by the primal scream for safety. And what does your brain do when it's caught between the CEO's "let's execute this plan" and the alarm's "we are all going to die"? It overthinks. Overthinking is the sound of your CEO trying to reason with a smoke detector. Your PFC, in a desperate attempt to regain control, says, "Wait, alarm, I hear you. You're right, there is risk. Let me make a list. Let me analyze the risk. Let me do more research. Let me Google what is the failure rate for new businesses. Let me recalculate everything." The amygdala hears this and calms down. Just a little. Okay, it whispers, "Good, analyze." As long as we're thinking about the threat, we're not moving toward it. As long as we are planning, we are safe. Don't do anything. Just keep thinking about it. And so, you're trapped. You're stuck in a loop. Your brain thinks it's solving the problem. It thinks it's keeping you safe. But what it's really doing is sacrificing your future for a fleeting sense of security in the present. It has successfully negotiated you out of your ambition. You are not lazy. You are in a biological prison. I need you to let that sink in. I need you to feel the empathy that comes with that realization. All the years you've spent beating yourself up, calling yourself a procrastinator, feeling guilty for your inaction, it was all based on a false premise. You weren't fighting a lack of willpower. You were fighting a 40,000-year-old survival program. You were fighting your own biology. This is the paradox of the modern human brain. The very system designed to protect you is now the primary thing holding you back. The what-if that saved your ancestors from tigers is the same what-if that is now killing your dreams. But what if I told you that you have the key to this prison in your pocket? What if I told you that this system, this ancient software, can be updated? You see, your brain has a remarkable, almost magical property. It's called neuroplasticity. This means your brain is not fixed. It's not rigid. It is constantly changing, molding, and rewiring itself based on your thoughts, your experiences, and, most importantly, your actions. The fact that your brain is plastic is the most empowering news in the world. It means that the neural pathways that currently lead to overthinking and paralysis can be weakened. And new pathways of action, decision, and execution can be built. You can teach your ancient brain new tricks. You can learn to calm the amygdala. You can learn to keep your PFC, your CEO, online even when the alarm bells are ringing. You can, quite literally, re-sculpt the physical hardware of your mind. This is not motivational fluff. This is neuroscience. You are not a victim of your biology. You are its rightful commander. You just haven't been given the instruction manual, until now. This book is that manual. We're not going to fight your brain. That's a war you will always lose. We're not going to try to eliminate fear or stop your brain from worrying. That's impossible. Your amygdala is just doing its job, and frankly, you want it there when you step off a curb into traffic. No, we are going to do something far more powerful. We are going to change the relationship between you and your thoughts. We are going to acknowledge the alarm, and then we are going to teach the CEO how to take charge anyway. In this book, I will show you how to install the upgrade. I will give you the tools to stop being a prisoner of what if and start becoming an architect of what is. But first, we must understand the true physical cost of staying in this prison. Overthinking isn't just a mental annoyance. It's a physiological state. It's a chemical bath that you are soaking your body in day after day. In the next chapter, we are going to pull back the curtain and look at exactly what is happening inside your body when you're frozen in decision. We are going to explore the biology of the cortisol loop and build the urgent, non-negotiable case for why you must break free. You have lived in the shadow of the saber-toothed tiger long enough. It's time to step into the light. What is physically happening inside your body when you're frozen? Think about it. That moment when you're staring at your laptop, the cursor blinking on a blank page. The project is due. The email needs to be sent. The decision must be made. You know what you have to do, and yet you are utterly, completely stuck. What does that feel like? It's not just a thought. It's a physical sensation. It's a tightness in your chest. It's a shallow, quick breath. It's a cold knot forming in the pit of your stomach. It's a low-grade hum of anxiety that makes your skin crawl. You might feel a dull headache creeping up the back of your neck. Your shoulders are tensed, pulled up toward your ears. You are in a state of paralysis, and it's not just in your mind. It has taken over your entire body. You might dismiss this as just stress. You might tell yourself to just relax or focus. But what if I told you that this feeling is the result of a powerful, toxic chemical cocktail that you are literally marinating your brain in? What if I told you that your indecision isn't just a mental state, but a physiological event? Welcome to your brain on cortisol. In the last chapter, we met your amygdala, your ancient, hypervigilant inner alarm. We established that its job is to protect you from saber-toothed tigers, but it's mistaking your modern, everyday choices for life-or-death threats. When this alarm gets pulled, it doesn't just send a polite suggestion to your CEO, the prefrontal cortex. It triggers a full-blown chemical cascade. The primary chemical in this cascade is cortisol. You've heard of it. It's the stress hormone. But that name is too simple. It's not just a feeling. Cortisol is a high-octane fuel designed for short-term explosive emergencies. When that saber-toothed tiger appeared, cortisol was your best friend. It dumped sugar into your bloodstream for immediate energy. It jacked up your blood pressure to get that fuel to your muscles. It sharpened your senses, and, crucially, it shut down all non-essential systems. What's non-essential when you're running for your life? Your digestive system, your immune system, your reproductive system, and, most critically for us, your complex, logical, long-term planning system. That's right. When cortisol floods your brain, one of the first things it does is hit the mute button on your prefrontal cortex. Think of your PFC, your CEO, as a sophisticated, high-tech command center. It's full of data analysts, strategists, and creative thinkers. Now imagine what happens when the building's fire alarm, the amygdala, goes off. Cortisol is the chemical equivalent of shutting off the lights, locking the doors, and blaring white noise so no one in the command center can think, speak, or coordinate. This is the biology of indecision. Your overthinking, that what-if loop we talked about, is the trigger for the alarm. The alarm blares and your body releases cortisol. This cortisol then suppresses the very part of your brain that is designed to solve the problem and make a decision. This is the ultimate biological catch-22. The stress of needing to make a decision is the very thing that prevents you from making one. But it gets worse. This isn't just a one-time event. For the chronic overthinker, for you, this has become a loop, a devastating, self-perpetuating feedback cycle. I call it the cortisol loop. Here's how it works. The trigger. You face a task with uncertainty, e.g., I need to ask for a raise. The overthinking. Your brain starts the what-if spin. What if my boss says no? What if they think I'm greedy? What if they fire me? The amygdala hijack. Your inner alarm hears this what-if speculation, codes it as a threat, and pulls the lever. The cortisol flood. Your system is now awash in stress hormones. You feel that knot in your stomach, that tension. The PFC shutdown. Your logical CEO is taken offline. You can't think clearly. You can't form a rational plan. All you can feel is the fear. The paralysis. You freeze. You can't make the decision. You can't take the action. You close the email draft. You say, I'll think about it tomorrow. The false relief. By avoiding the threat, your amygdala calms down for a second. The cortisol levels dip slightly. Your brain learns a terrible, false lesson. Phew, we were in danger, but we didn't act, and now we're safe. Avoidance equals safety. The lingering anxiety. But the problem isn't solved. The decision still looms. The cortisol never fully recedes. You're now in a state of chronic, low-grade stress. And the next time you think about the trigger, the loop starts faster because your brain has learned that this topic is dangerous. This loop, repeated day after day, week after week, doesn't just visit your brain, it starts to remodel it. This is the part I need you to hear. This is the agitation. This is the fire I need to light under you. Chronic overthinking is not harmless. It is not a quirky personality trait. It is a long-term physiological assault on your brain. When your brain is continuously marinated in cortisol, two terrible things happen. First, the bad parts of your brain get stronger. The amygdala, your fear center, actually grows. It becomes more sensitive, more hypervigilant. Like a muscle you train every day, your anxiety response becomes more robust, more efficient. You are, quite literally, practicing being afraid. You are building a world-class amygdala, one that can find the threat in anything. Second, the good parts of your brain get weaker. That vital prefrontal cortex, your inner CEO, begins to atrophy. The neural connections that power your logic, your discipline, and your ability to execute start to shrivel. Chronic cortisol exposure is toxic to the neurons in your PFC. It's like pouring acid on the wiring of your command center. This is why, over time, execution feels harder and harder. It's not your imagination. Your brain's physical execution muscle is weakening, while its fear muscle is getting stronger. You are biologically tilting the table against yourself. And this is all before we even talk about the negativity bias. As if the cortisol loop wasn't enough, your brain has another ancient software program running in the background, one that makes this entire situation infinitely worse. The negativity bias is a simple evolutionary principle. Your brain is built to pay more attention to and give more weight to negative information than positive information. Think about it from a survival perspective. Your ancestor is walking on the savannah. In one day, he sees a beautiful, life-giving berry bush, positive, and he almost steps on a venomous snake, negative. Which of those two experiences should his brain learn from more intensely? Which one must he remember forever? The snake, of course. The ancestor who blissfully remembered the berries but forgot the snake, he didn't last long. The ancestor who obsessed over the snake, who remembered its location, its smell, its sound, he survived. You inherited his brain. Your brain is not a neutral observer. It is a high-speed, biased threat detection machine. It is Velcro for bad experiences and Teflon for good ones. This is why you can receive 10 compliments and 1 criticism, and what you obsess over for the next 3 days? The criticism. Now, let's plug this negativity bias directly into your cortisol loop. You're trying to make a decision. Your brain, by default, is already scanning for the snake. It is biologically programmed to find the 100 ways this plan can fail. Your overthinking is just your negativity bias being given a microphone and a spotlight. What if I fail? What if I'm criticized? What if it's a disaster? Your brain isn't trying to sabotage you. It's trying to find the snake. It is desperately trying to protect you from the potential negative outcome, no matter how small or unlikely. And here is the most insidious part. Your brain, in its sophisticated attempt to keep you safe, has learned to disguise this primal fear. It has learned to make the negativity bias sound logical. It has learned to make the amygdala's panic sound like the PFC's intelligence. We call this disguise perfectionism. What is perfectionism? It's the ultimate form of overthinking. It's the what-if loop dressed up in a suit, carrying a briefcase, and pretending to be a high-standard executive. Perfectionism is just your negativity bias saying, I can't guarantee there is no snake, so we can't move. It's your amygdala screaming, if this isn't 100% perfect, we will be criticized. Criticism is social rejection. Social rejection, to my ancient wiring, is death. Therefore, we must not proceed until the risk of criticism is 0. And what is the only way to ensure the risk of criticism is 0? To never send the email, to never launch the product, to never publish the book, to never execute. Perfectionism is not a pursuit of excellence. It is a flight from vulnerability. It is your ancient software running a sabotage program, and it's using your own intelligence against you. Do you see the trap you are in? Your brain is wired to find the negative. This search for the negative triggers your what-if overthinking loop. This loop unleashes cortisol, which shuts down your logical brain. This paralysis, this inaction, is then learned by your brain as a safe response, reinforcing the entire cycle. And all the while, the physical structures of your brain are changing. Your fear center is growing, and your execution center is shrinking. This is not a mental problem. This is a biological one. You cannot outthink this problem. You cannot logic your way out of it. Why? Because the very chemical that's causing the problem is the one that disables your logic. Trying to think your way out of a cortisol flood is like trying to dry yourself off while you are still standing in the shower. This is why just think positive is the worst advice in the world. It doesn't work. This is why just get motivated is a meaningless platitude. It doesn't last. You are not fighting a bad attitude. You are fighting a chemical storm. I know this sounds bleak. I know this sounds like a prison you can't escape. That is intentional. I need you to stop treating your overthinking as a casual annoyance. I need you to understand what it is costing you. It's costing you your mental clarity. It's costing you your momentum. And it is physically re-engineering your brain to be better at fear and worse at action. This is the enemy. This is the true cost of inaction. You must understand this completely. You must respect the power of this biological machine. You cannot defeat an enemy you do not understand. But the news is not all bad. In fact, the very mechanism that creates this prison is the one that holds the key to your escape. The human brain is a remarkable, adaptable miracle. The same force that allows chronic stress to weaken your PFC is the same force that can be used to rebuild it. The same principle that allows your amygdala to learn new fears is the same one we will use to tame it. This system is not your enemy. It is a system that is waiting for new instructions. You cannot think your way out. But in the coming chapters, I'm going to show you how to act your way out. I'm going to show you how to send a different set of signals to your brain. Signals that don't trigger cortisol, but instead release a different set of chemicals. Chemicals like dopamine, the reward chemical, and acetylcholine, the focus chemical. We are going to stop fighting this ancient biological war and start using a different strategy. We are going to use neuroscientific jujitsu, using the brain's own momentum against itself. But first, we have to fully grasp the stakes. In the next chapter, we are going to explore how this cycle of inaction isn't just a loop, but a downward spiral. We will see how hesitation doesn't just keep you stuck, it digs the hole deeper. We will look at the compounding cost of inaction and how, biologically, hesitation becomes a habit. Do you realize what your hesitation is really costing you? I'm not talking about the money you lost by not launching that business. I'm not talking about the opportunity you missed by not applying for that job. Those are external costs, and they are painful enough. But I want to talk about something far more insidious. I want to talk about what's happening inside you. I want to talk about the invisible price you pay every single time you choose to wait, to think it over a little more, or to start tomorrow. That price is trust, and the cost is your identity. We've established that you are not lazy. You are trapped in a biological loop where your ancient brain, flooded with cortisol, slams the brakes on your modern ambitions. But today, in this chapter, we have to confront a terrifying truth. This loop is not static. It is not a merry-go-round. It is a downward spiral. Every time you hesitate, you are not just staying in the same place. You are digging the hole deeper. You are actively making it harder to act the next time. Inaction is not a passive state. It is an active process of self-sabotage. And it operates through the most powerful force in your brain, neuroplasticity. In the last chapter, I mentioned neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to change and rewire itself. It is the single most hopeful and empowering concept in all of neuroscience. It means change is always possible. But neuroplasticity is a double-edged sword. It is a tool, and a tool doesn't care whether you are building a palace or a prison. It simply does what you tell it to do. It reinforces whatever you repeatedly do, think, and feel. And for the chronic overthinker, neuroplasticity is the villain. Think of it this way. Whatever you practice, you get good at. When you practice the piano, the neural pathways for finger dexterity and reading music get stronger, faster, and more efficient. The connections are myelinated, coated in a fatty sheath that acts like insulation on a wire, making the signal travel at lightning speed. Eventually, you don't even have to think about it. You just play. The exact same process is happening with your hesitation. Let's walk through a scenario. You have a goal. I'm going to write for 30 minutes every morning. The first morning, the alarm goes off. That is your cue. Your PFC, your CEO, says, time to write. This aligns with our long-term goals. But your amygdala, your alarm, also wakes up. Wait, writing is hard. What if it's no good? What if you just stare at the page? That feels bad. Staying in bed feels safe. Staying in bed is certain. This triggers the what-if loop. You start to overthink. Well, I am pretty tired. Maybe I should just think about what I'll write first. Yes, that's better. I'll just plan it in my head from the comfort of my bed. You hit the snooze button. You have chosen inaction. This is your routine. And what's the reward? You get an immediate, fleeting hit of relief. The anxiety of facing the blank page is gone. The cortisol dips. The bed is warm. Ah, safety. You have just completed one rep of the hesitation habit. When faced with the cue of it's time to write, the correct routine is to overthink and avoid because the reward is relief from discomfort. You didn't just waste time, you practiced avoidance. The neural pathway that links ambitious goal to paralyzing analysis just got a tiny bit stronger. The wire just got a little bit thicker. Now, fast forward. You do this again the next day, and the next. That pathway is no longer a tiny footpath in the jungle of your mind. It's a well-worn track. Soon, it's a paved road. After a few months, it is a 6-lane, high-speed superhighway. And the other pathway, the one called "alarm goes off, I sit down and write," that path is overgrown. It's covered in weeds. The signal can barely get through. This is why just doing it feels so impossibly hard. You are not just fighting a feeling, you are fighting a physical structure in your brain that you built. You have become a world-class black belt expert at not starting. Hesitation is not a decision. It is a highly trained automatic habit. This is the compounding cost. Each day's inaction is a small deposit in a failure fund that grows with terrifying interest. But as devastating as this biological process is, it's not even the worst part. The deepest cost is not neurological, it's psychological. Every time you hesitate, every time you choose inaction over action, you are casting a vote for who you want to be. Think about your relationship with yourself. Think about your self-trust. Imagine you have a friend who constantly makes promises and breaks them. "I'll be there at 7. They show up at 8:30. You can count on me to help you move. They text you that morning, sick. I'm definitely going to pay you back this week. Weeks turn into months. How long would you trust this person? How long before their words become meaningless? How long before you stop believing anything they say? Now, what if that friend is you? Every time you tell yourself, today is the day, and it isn't, you are breaking a promise to the most important person in your life. Every time you say, I'm going to finish this, and you don't, you are proving to yourself that your word is worthless. This is a profound, invisible form of self-betrayal, and your brain is keeping score. Your PFC, your CEO, is the part of you that makes these declarations. We will go to the gym. We will finish this report. When you consistently fail to follow through, your PFC loses all its authority. Your amygdala, your inner alarm, loves this. The next time a challenge appears, the PFC says, "Okay, team, let's do this." And the rest of your brain just laughs. The amygdala, now huge and powerful from all that cortisol-driven practice, steps in and says, "Quiet you. We all know you're not in charge." Your plans are just suggestions. My fear, on the other hand, that's what dictates our behavior. Now, everyone, back to the safety of overthinking. It's what we're good at. Your inner CEO is staging a coup, and your own inaction is handing the keys to the kingdom over to your most primal, fearful, and smallest thinking self. This erosion of self-trust is the true source of the stuck feeling. You're stuck because deep down you no longer believe you are the kind of person who can get unstuck. You have built an identity around overthinking. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Oh, I'm just an overthinker. I'm a procrastinator. It's just who I am. I'm a perfectionist. We use these labels as a shield. We think they protect us from the judgment of lazy or incapable. But all they do is reinforce the prison walls. When you say, I am an overthinker, you are no longer describing a behavior. You are claiming an identity. And the human mind has a desperate, primal need to remain consistent with its declared identity. Your brain will not let you behave in a way that contradicts who you believe you are. If you believe you are an overthinker, you will find a way to overthink. Even a simple decision, like what to have for dinner, will become a complex cost-benefit analysis. Your brain will force you to hesitate, because that is what an overthinker does. This is the ultimate compounding cost of inaction. It starts as a biological quirk, a what-if loop. It gets reinforced by a cortisol flood that makes paralysis feel safe. It is then practiced into a high-speed habit by the power of neuroplasticity. This habit erodes your self-trust, deposing your inner CEO. And this loss of trust calcifies into a new, smaller, more fearful identity. That is what your hesitation is costing you. It is costing you you. It is also costing you momentum. The first law of motion from Newtonian physics is inertia. An object at rest will stay at rest. This is not just a law of the physical universe, it is a law of the human psyche. Inaction has a drag, a psychological friction. The longer you stay still, the more activation energy is required to get you moving. Think about pushing a car that's out of gas. That first agonizing push, getting it to move that first inch, is brutally difficult. You have to overcome all of its dead weight inertia. But once it's rolling, even just a tiny bit, the next push is easier, and the next easier still. Soon you can get it to a light jog. That's momentum. Overthinking is the act of staring at the car, calculating the precise angle to push, wondering if the tires are properly inflated, and checking the weather report for wind resistance, all while the car remains perfectly, stubbornly still. Every second you spend overthinking, the car of your life gets heavier. The activation energy required to start becomes greater and greater, until finally it feels so impossibly heavy that you just give up. It's no use. I can't. This is the compounding cost. Your hesitation isn't just delaying the push. It is making the car harder to push. This has to stop. It has to stop today. You are not an overthinker. You are not a procrastinator. You are not stuck. You are a person who has practiced the habit of hesitation, and you have practiced it so well that you've become an expert. I need you to see this, because if you learn to be this way, you can unlearn it. If you built these neural pathways, you can build new ones. This is the moment where the story turns. This is the moment we take the villain of this chapter, neuroplasticity, and we flip the script. We are about to make it our hero. The same force that built your prison is the exact tool we are going to use to tear it down, brick by painstaking brick. You have spent years getting good at stopping. We are now going to dedicate ourselves to the art of starting. We are going to become experts at execution. The price of inaction is your trust, your identity, and your momentum. It is a price that is too high. You have paid it for long enough. The next part of this book is the how. We are moving from problem to solution. We are leaving the world of what if and stepping finally into the world of what is. We are going to stop talking about the car, and at long last, we are going to start to push. It all begins with the single most powerful principle for breaking the paralysis loop, the execution principle. It's time to learn why clarity is not the prerequisite for action, but the result of it. What if the only way out of your head is through your hands? What if the key to unlocking your paralysis isn't one more pro-con list, one more hour of research, or one more perfect plan? What if the solution to your overthinking isn't thinking at all? For your entire life, you've been operating under one core flawed assumption. You've been a victim of the great lie of overthinking. That lie is this: I must achieve clarity before I can take action. You believe you must think your way to a solution. You believe that if you just analyze the problem from every possible angle, if you just anticipate every potential obstacle, if you just spin the what-if wheel long enough, you will eventually land on a perfect, risk-free, crystal-clear answer. And then, and only then, will you be ready to act. How has that been working for you? Be honest. Does that moment of perfect 100% certainty ever really arrive? Or do you just find yourself stuck in the same loop, digging deeper into the mud, the car of your life sinking further to its axles while you plan the perfect way to push it? I'm not scared, you tell yourself. I'm just unclear. I'm not procrastinating, you insist. I'm just being thorough. This is the most sophisticated trap your amygdala has ever laid for you. It has disguised your primal fear of uncertainty as a sophisticated, intellectual pursuit of clarity. It has convinced you that your paralysis is a sign of your intelligence, your high standards. It is a lie, a devastating, life-stealing lie. Today, we burn that lie to the ground. Today, I am giving you the antidote. It is the central thesis of this entire book, the one principle that will tear down the prison you've been living in. I call it the execution principle. It is simple, it is radical, and it will change everything for you. Here it is. Clarity is not the cause of action. Clarity is the consequence of action. Read that again. You do not think your way into a new way of acting. You act your way into a new way of thinking. Action is the antidote. Action is the cure. Action is the only thing that can break the cortisol loop, silence the amygdala, and bring your CEO, your prefrontal cortex, back online. Overthinking, as we've established, is a biological state. It's a chemical storm of cortisol. It's a neurological groove of rumination, a closed loop between your fear center and your planning center. You cannot think your way out of a feeling. You cannot logic your way out of a chemical flood. Trying to outthink overthinking is like trying to put out a fire by describing the chemical properties of water. It's useless. You have to do something. You have to apply the water. Action is the water. In fact, from a brain science perspective, action and overthinking are biological opposites. They are two states of being that cannot coexist at the same time. When you are trapped in overthinking, you are internal. Your brain is in a state of abstract rumination. It's all chatter, all what-ifs, all hypotheticals. Your PFC and your amygdala are locked in their death spiral. The moment you take a physical action, the moment you execute, you force a state change. You interrupt the pattern. Let's look at the neuroscience. When you decide to act, you engage a completely different part of your brain, the motor cortex. This is the strip of brain tissue that controls voluntary movement. When you pick up the phone, when you put your fingers on the keyboard, when you put on your running shoes, you are forcing your brain to shift its resources. You are, in a very real sense, hanging up the phone on your screaming amygdala. Think of your overthinking loop as a record skipping, stuck in the same groove, playing the same terrible, distorted note of anxiety over and over. What if, what if, what if? Your attempts to think your way out are just you staring at the record player, analyzing the skip. Why is it skipping? Is the needle dirty? Is the vinyl warped? All this analysis does nothing to fix the sound. Taking action is the physical act of bumping the turntable. It's moving the needle. It jolts the system, breaks the pattern, and allows the song to finally move forward. This physical jolt does something miraculous to your brain chemistry. Remember our enemy, cortisol? That's the hormone of fear, stress, and paralysis. It's the freeze signal. When you take a small, voluntary action towards your goal, your brain releases a completely different chemical. It releases dopamine. Now, most people misunderstand dopamine. They call it the pleasure chemical. That's not quite right. Dopamine is the motivation chemical. It's the "this is working, keep going" chemical. It's the "you're on the right track" chemical. Your brain releases it in anticipation of a reward, and that release drives you to complete the action. Here is the battle at the chemical level. Overthinking equals cortisol, fear, freeze. Execution equals dopamine, motivation, action. Every time you are stuck in paralysis, you are in a cortisol-dominant state. Every time you act, you are triggering a dopamine release. You are literally changing your own brain chemistry, shifting from a state of fear to a state of pursuit. This is why the smallest possible action is so critical. We're not talking about launching the business in one go. That's too big. That's a saber-toothed tiger for sure. We're talking about an action so small, so non-threatening that your amygdala barely even notices. If you're overthinking a report, the action is opening a new document and typing one sentence. If you're overthinking a difficult conversation, the action is opening your contacts and finding the phone number. If you're overthinking a workout, the action is putting on your running shoes. These micro actions are your pattern interrupts. They are so ridiculously small that they slip right past the amygdala's defenses. But chemically, they are a bomb. They are the bump to the turntable. They are the first drop of dopamine, the antidote that begins to neutralize the cortisol. And this brings us to the second magical part of the execution principle. Action is not just a chemical antidote. Action is a data collection machine. Why are you overthinking? Because you are trapped in a world of hypotheticals. You are trying to solve a problem with zero real-world information. You are sitting in a dark room, paralyzed by the fear of what might be in it. You're trying to guess where the furniture is. What if I hit my shin on the coffee table? What if I trip over a rug? What if there's a monster in the corner? You can think about that dark room for 10 years. You will never get clarity. You will only get more and more paranoid. What is the solution? Action. The solution is to get up slowly and stick your hand out. The moment you stick your hand out and touch something, okay, that's a wall. You have data. You are no longer in the realm of what if. You are in the realm of what is. Okay, I touched the wall. Now I'll take one step, hand still out. Okay, I touched a chair. Even if you do bump your shin on the coffee table, that is still data. It's painful data, but it is infinitely more valuable than your fear. Why? Because now you know where the coffee table is. You have learned. You have traded a vague, paralyzing fear for a specific, solvable piece of information. This is what execution does. It turns your vague, terrifying what-ifs into concrete, manageable what-is. You're terrified to send a sales email. What if they hate it? What if they think I'm a spammer? You're in the dark room. You apply the execution principle. You write a good enough email, more on that later, and you send it to one person. You have stuck your hand out. Scenario A, they don't reply. This is data. It is not a verdict on your self-worth. It is simply data. Hypothesis, the subject line wasn't good. Next action, try a different subject line with the next person. Scenario B, they reply, not interested. This is data. Painful data, but data nonetheless. Your fear of rejection happened, and you're still alive. The saber-toothed tiger didn't get you. Your amygdala just learned that a no is not a life-or-death threat. This is a massive win. Scenario C, they reply, interesting, tell me more. This is data. This is a dopamine flood. Your brain just learned action equals reward. Guess what just got 100x easier? Sending the next email. In all three scenarios, you win. In all three scenarios, you are out of the loop. You are no longer paralyzed. You have new information, and your PFC, your CEO, is now back online, analyzing real-world feedback instead of being hijacked by your amygdala's imaginary fears. This is the promise. You must stop thinking your way to clarity and start acting your way to it. You are not a thinker or a planner who is waiting for the right moment. From this day forward, you are an executor. You are a data collector. You are a pattern interrupter. You have spent years strengthening the neural pathway of hesitation. Now we are going to build a new one, a superhighway. We are going to build the execution pathway, and we will build it one tiny, imperfect action at a time. This is the principle. This is the why. But I know what you're thinking. This sounds great, but when I'm in that moment, when I'm frozen, when the cortisol is high, how do I force myself to take that first step? How do I get myself to just put on the shoes? You need a tool. A cognitive jumpstart. A weapon to use in that 5-second window between your impulse and your fear. That's what we're going to build in the next chapter. We're going to tame your inner saber-toothed tiger, not by fighting it, but by outsmarting it. We're going to learn how to recalibrate your entire fear response. How do you convince your ancient brain that a difficult conversation is not a life-or-death threat? How do you stand up to speak in a meeting, look at that blank document, or pick up the phone to make a cold call and not feel that white-hot electric jolt of panic? That sudden flush to the face, that cold, hollow drop in your stomach. You know, logically you know, that you are not going to die. Your prefrontal cortex, your CEO, is sitting right there, calmly assessing the situation. This is a standard quarterly review. No one has a spear. We are safe. And yet, your body is screaming a different story. Your heart is hammering against your ribs. Your palms are slick with sweat. Your breath is shallow and tight. Your amygdala, your inner alarm, has hijacked the entire system, screaming, "Danger! Danger! Social rejection imminent! This is a tiger!" In that moment, all your brilliant logic, all your plans, all your commitment to the execution principle, it all goes up in smoke. You are no longer a modern-day professional. You are a terrified mammal, frozen in the high beams of an imaginary predator. This is the critical moment. This is the bottleneck where execution goes to die. We've established that you can't outthink this response. The amygdala is just too fast. Its signal travels on a neurological superhighway, while your logic takes the scenic backroads. By the time your PFC even realizes what's happening, your body is already in full-blown panic, awash in cortisol. So, what do? This is where most motivational advice fails you. "Just feel the fear and do it anyway," they shout. "Just push through it." This is like telling someone having a panic attack to just calm down. It's useless, and frankly, it's insulting. It ignores the biological reality of what you're experiencing. You can't push through a tidal wave of cortisol. You will lose. Your brain will always choose what it thinks is survival, freezing, fleeing, over what you want, executing. So, we are not going to push through. We are going to get smarter. We are going to use a two-pronged neuroscientific approach to recalibrate your entire fear response. We are not going to try and stop the alarm from ever ringing. That's impossible. A good smoke detector should be sensitive. No, our goal is to change what happens next. We are going to build a firewall between the initial alarm, the amygdala jolt, and your response, the panic-driven paralysis. We are going to create a pause, a single, powerful moment of cognitive space. In that space, you will stop being the fear and become the observer of it. In that space, you will shift from a state of reaction to a state of action. We will do this by using two powerful evidence-based tools. The first is a bottom-up approach, using your body to calm your brain. The second is a top-down approach, using your brain to calm your body. Tool number 1, the physiologic interrupt, a bottom-up approach. When your brain is screaming tiger, you cannot convince it with words. You have to convince it with evidence. You have to send it a physical signal so powerful, so undeniable, that it is forced to reconsider its own panic. The fastest, most direct way to signal all clear to your primal brain is not through your thoughts. It's through your breath. Breathing is the one system in your body that is both automatic, you're doing it right now without thinking, and voluntary, you can take control of it right now. This makes it a back door into your own nervous system. It's the manual override lever for your amygdala. When your amygdala fires, it triggers the sympathetic nervous system. This is your fight-or-flight system. It causes your short, shallow breathing. It causes your rapid heart rate. But you have an antidote. It's called the parasympathetic nervous system. This is your rest and digest system. It's the all-clear signal. And the switch that activates this all-clear system, the most powerful nerve in your body, the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve is a massive information highway that wanders from your brainstem all the way down, connecting to your heart, your lungs, and your gut. It is constantly sending data back to your brain about the state of your body. And here is the secret. You can manually activate your vagus nerve. The primary way to do this is with a slow, controlled, exhale-focused breath. When you take a quick, shallow breath, your vagus nerve tells your brain, heart rate is fast, breathing is shallow, we must be in danger. When you deliberately slow your breath, especially making your exhale longer than your inhale, you are physically stimulating the vagus nerve. You are forcing it to send a new message. Heart rate is slowing, breathing is deep and calm, the threat must be gone. Stand down. This is not a mental trick. This is a physiologic interrupt. You are using your lungs as a remote control to turn off the fight-or-flight switch in your brainstem. The most effective and simple way to do this is a technique used by Navy SEALs, elite athletes, and surgeons to stay calm under impossible pressure. It's often called tactical breathing or box breathing. Here is how you do it. The next time you feel that jolt of panic, that what-if loop starting to spin, that feeling of paralysis, stop and do this. Inhale slowly through your nose for a count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold your breath gently at the top for a count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale slowly through your mouth for a count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold the breath out at the bottom for a count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Repeat this cycle 3 to 5 times. Let's analyze what you are really doing here. First, you are forcing a pattern interrupt. Your overthinking brain was spinning at 1,000,000 miles an hour. Now it is suddenly forced to count. It has to divert resources from "what if I fail" to "am I at 3 or 4?" This is a cognitive jolt. Second, you are mechanically slowing your heart rate. You are stopping the cortisol flood. You are proving to your amygdala that there is no tiger. If there were a tiger, you would not be sitting here calmly counting your breath. Your body is sending data to your brain, and in this battle, data always beats hypotheticals. This is your bottom-up tool. It is your first line of defense. It calms the physical storm. It stops the chemical flood. It creates the space, that critical firewall, for your CEO to come back online. But to keep the CEO online, we need our second tool. Tool number 2, threat labeling, a top-down approach. Now that your body is no longer screaming fire, your PFC, your logical brain, has a chance to speak. It's time to use your human brain to tame your mammal brain. This technique is brilliantly simple and backed by powerful neuroscience from fMRI studies. It's called threat labeling, or as Dr. Dan Siegel famously coined it, name it to tame it. Here's the science. In brain scan studies, researchers at UCLA showed subjects pictures of angry or fearful faces. As you'd expect, their amygdalas lit up like Christmas trees. They were in full threat mode. But then the researchers asked the subjects to do something simple: label the emotion they saw. That is an angry face. That is a fearful person. The instant they did this, a remarkable change occurred on the fMRI. The activity in the amygdala, the fear center, dramatically decreased. And simultaneously, the activity in a specific part of the prefrontal cortex, the ventrolateral PFC, increased. What does this mean? The simple act of putting a label on a feeling shifts your brain's resources. It takes the power away from the primal reactive amygdala and gives it to the thoughtful, logical PFC. You are moving from experiencing an emotion to analyzing it. You are quite literally using your logic circuits to drain the power from your panic circuits. When you are spiraling, your brain is fused with the fear. You say, "I am terrified. I am overwhelmed. This is a disaster." You and the panic are one and the same. We are going to break that fusion. The next time you feel that anxiety, after you've done your box breathing, I want you to label it. But you must do it in a specific, detached way. "I'm so anxious." Instead, say this, either out loud or in your head. "I am noticing the feeling of anxiety." Or get even more specific. "I am feeling a tightness in my chest and my heart is beating fast." This is my amygdala firing. My brain is identifying this email as a threat. I am having a saber-toothed tiger response. Do you see the profound difference? "I am anxious" is an identity. It's a verdict. It's a state you are in. "I am noticing the feeling of anxiety" makes you the observer. You are the scientist, and the feeling is the thing in the petri dish. You are no longer the victim of the storm. You are the meteorologist in the command center, watching it on a screen. This act of labeling and defusing does two things. It creates distance. It reminds you that you are not your emotions. You are not your thoughts. You are the consciousness that is experiencing these things. This gives you a profound sense of control. It engages your PFC. As the fMRI scans proved, it forces your CEO back into the driver's seat. Your PFC, by naming the threat, is essentially patting your amygdala on the head and saying, "I see it, I hear you, thanks, I'm on the case." This act of acknowledgement is what your inner alarm has been screaming for. It just wants to know the CEO is aware of the risk. Once it feels heard, it no longer needs to blare the alarm at full volume. The new response, your anti-overthinking drill. Let's put this all together. These two tools are not passive. They are an active tactical drill. You must practice them. The old drill was trigger, what if, cortisol, paralysis. Your new drill is the trigger, your boss's email, the public speaking invite. The jolt, you feel the hot flush of panic from the amygdala hijack. The pause, tool number 1. Immediately you stop. You perform 3 to 5 cycles of box breathing. In, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4. You are calming the body first. The label, tool number 2. As your body calms, you name the experience. I am noticing a fear response. My amygdala is identifying this as a tiger. It's just a cortisol flood. It's not a real threat. You are calming the mind second. The execution, chapter 4. Now, from this new, calm and detached state, this firewall of cognitive space you just built, you take one small, imperfect action. You apply the execution principle. You open the email. You write one bullet point for the speech. You pick up the phone. This is how you tame the tiger. You don't fight it. You don't try to wrestle it to the ground. You acknowledge it, labeling, and you soothe it, breathing. You show it with both your body and your mind that it is safe to stand down. You will learn to feel the fear without becoming the fear. You will build a firewall between your initial automatic panic and your new deliberate executive response. This drill gives you the power to handle the biological jolt. It stops the spiral before it can lead to paralysis. But it still requires one more thing. It requires the launch. It requires that split-second decision to start the drill instead of caving to the fear. How do you force yourself to act, to even just breathe in that tiny window between the impulse to act and the hesitation that kills it? For that, we need a weapon of pure, blunt force activation. We need a tool to jumpstart your brain like a car battery. That's what we're covering next. It's time to learn about the 5-second decision. What if you could override your brain's crippling stop signal in just 5 seconds? We've come so far. You understand the ancient software, Chapter 1. You've seen the chemical prison of the cortisol loop, Chapter 2. You felt the crushing, compounding cost of inaction, Chapter 3. You've embraced the life-changing truth of the execution principle, that action creates clarity, Chapter 4. And you even have a powerful drill to create a firewall of calm using your breath and labeling your fear, Chapter 5. You have the why and you have the what to do when panicked. But there's still a gap, isn't there? It's that tiny, silent, agonizing moment between the what if and the action. It's the split second after your alarm goes off before your feet hit the floor. It's the half second in the meeting after you have a brilliant idea before you raise your hand. It's the micro pause before you pick up the phone to make the call. In this sliver of time, you know what you should do. Your PFC, your CEO, is clear. Get up, speak, dial. The impulse is right there, and then nothing. The impulse vanishes, stolen. A fog of hesitation rolls in. The what-ifs start their whisper campaign. The cortisol begins to seep. And just like that, the moment is lost. The window is closed. You've been hijacked. This moment, this hesitation gap, is the assassin of your ambition. It's the kill switch for your momentum. It's the exact point where your ancient automatic stop program overrides your conscious, intentional go signal. If we are going to win this war, we must win this battle. We have to find a way to bridge that gap. We need a tool that is faster than the hijack. In Chapter 5, I gave you the tools to handle the tiger once it's already in the room, the breathing and labeling. Now, I'm giving you the tool to stop it from ever getting in the door. What if you could force yourself into action before your brain even had time to start the overthinking loop? This is not a theory. This is a cognitive weapon, a tool of pure neurological force. It was popularized by author Mel Robbins, who discovered it during a moment of personal crisis, and it has since been validated as one of the most powerful metacognition tools in existence. It is simply the 5-second decision. The rule is this: the moment you have an instinct to act on a goal, you must physically move within 5 seconds, or your brain will kill the idea. You feel the impulse to get out of bed? You have 5 seconds. You have the instinct to speak in the meeting? You have 5 seconds. You know you need to start the report? You have 5 seconds. And in that 5-second window, you are to do one simple thing. You are to count backwards, out loud or in your head. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. And on go, or 1, you move. Not think about moving, not plan to move. You physically move. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, your feet hit the floor. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, your hand shoots in the air. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, you open the blank document. This sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? It sounds too simple, childish even. How could something so basic possibly override a 40,000-year-old survival program? I asked you to trust me on the neuroscience of fear. Now I need you to trust me on the neuroscience of action. This simple countdown is a sophisticated cognitive jumpstart that performs surgical strike warfare on your brain's hesitation mechanisms. To understand why it works, we have to look at the enemy we're fighting in that 5-second gap. It's not just your amygdala. We need to introduce one more player, the basal ganglia. Your basal ganglia is your habit center. It's deep in your primal brain, and its primary job is to automate your life. It's what allows you to brush your teeth, drive a car, or type a sentence without thinking about it. It loves habits because habits are energy efficient. They are known, safe, and predictable. Your problem is that overthinking has become one of your basal ganglia's favorite, most practiced habits. Hesitation is a habit. Checking your phone instead of working is a habit. Hitting the snooze button is a habit. Now, let's replay that hesitation gap with all the players on the field. The impulse, PFC. Your CEO, your prefrontal cortex, has an idea. This is important. Let's do this hard, new, or uncertain thing. The 5-second window. This is the grace period. The brakes, amygdala plus basal ganglia. Your basal ganglia detects an override signal. Whoa, that's not our habit. That's not safe, easy, automatic. It immediately flags the amygdala. The hijack, amygdala. The amygdala, now alerted, slams the danger button. That's new, that's scary, that's uncertain. Shut it down. The result, paralysis. A flood of cortisol hits. The PFC is taken offline. Your basal ganglia defaults to the old habit. Let's just stay in bed, or let's check email instead, or let's just think about this for a while. Your overthinking loop. The 5-second decision is your tool to hijack this hijack. It is a precise neurological intervention. Here is exactly what's happening in your brain when you count 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 1. It is a pattern interrupt. Your brain is expecting the old automatic habit loop. It's waiting for the what-if script to begin. Instead, it gets 5. This is weird. It's novel. This novelty grabs the attention of your prefrontal cortex, your CEO, and keeps it online for just a few seconds longer. It's like a starting pistol at a race. It silences the crowd, your doubts, and focuses everyone on the start. 2. It is an act of cognitive focusing. There is a profound neurological reason you must count backwards. If you count forwards, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, your brain can keep going on autopilot. 6, 7, 8. It's a rote memory loop, just like reciting the alphabet. You can do it while simultaneously starting the what-if loop. But counting backwards, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, is not an automatic loop. It requires you. It forces your PFC to engage. You have to focus to stop at 1. This act of focusing is the hijack. You are forcing your brain's resources into the PFC, starving the amygdala and basal ganglia of the attention they need to trigger the stop program. You are manually keeping your CEO in the driver's seat. 3. It is a form of activation energy. In physics, activation energy is the minimum amount of energy needed to start a chemical reaction. In life, it's the energy needed to overcome the inertia of inaction. That car we talked about in Chapter 3? This countdown is you bracing your body for that first agonizing push. The thought of, I should push the car, is not enough. The act of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 is the activation energy that translates the intention into physical preparation. 4. It is a pre-action that bridges the gap. The 5-second decision cleverly bypasses the entire should I or shouldn't I debate. You are no longer deciding if you will act. You are only deciding to start the countdown. That's it. It's a tiny, non-threatening micro-commitment. But the countdown itself is a form of action. It's a pre-action that builds just enough momentum to launch you into the real action. It's a psychological on-ramp that gets you from 0 to 60. 5. It is a launch sequence that connects to your motor cortex. The 1, go, is the final brilliant piece. It's a bright line cue. It's the launch button. By predetermining that 1 means move, you have created an undeniable link. You are connecting your focused PFC, thanks to the countdown, directly to your motor cortex, the part of your brain that controls physical movement. You are bypassing the debate club, the overthinking loop, and sending the signal straight from the CEO to the execution department. This tool is your primary weapon. It is the key to unlocking the execution principle. It is the starter for your engine. You feel the impulse. You feel the hesitation. You don't think. You don't wait. You don't analyze the feeling. You immediately start the launch sequence. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. This is how you will start using the other tools I've given you. You feel the panic of the tiger? You're frozen? You know you should do your box breathing, but you're too hijacked to even start? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You take your first inhale. You know you should name it to tame it, but your mind is too fuzzy? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You say, I am noticing anxiety. You know you need to take one imperfect action, but the blank page is terrifying? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Your hands move to the keyboard and type one word. This 5-second countdown is the force you will use to forge a new bias for action. Remember neuroplasticity? Remember how your hesitation became a 6-lane superhighway? Every single time you use the 5-second decision, you are doing two things. You are stopping traffic on the old hesitation highway. You are sending a car down the new, tiny execution footpath. Do this once, it's a small win. Do this 10 times, and that footpath gets clearer. Do this 100 times, and you're paving a road. Do this for 6 months, and you will have built a new superhighway. You will have built a new habit loop in your basal ganglia. You will have physically rewired your brain to default to action instead of hesitation. This is how you rebuild your self-trust. Every time you use the rule and you move, you are keeping a promise to yourself. You are casting a vote for your new identity. You are proving to your brain with physical evidence that you are in charge, that your intentions matter, that your goals are more powerful than your fears. Your amygdala will never stop shouting. Your basal ganglia will never stop loving habits. You cannot change your ancient hardware, but with this tool, you can seize control of the operating system. You now have the launch button. You have the tool to start. But start what? The moment you launch, your old enemy, the one that uses your intelligence against you, is going to pop up. It's that sophisticated mask for your fear we talked about. It's time to dismantle the most destructive form of overthinking known to man. It's time to talk about perfectionism. Is your obsession with perfect just your fear wearing a sophisticated mask? Think about it. Is it really about high standards and excellence, or is that just a convenient, socially acceptable story you tell yourself? Is it just your brilliant, terrified mind creating the most intelligent, highbrow, and defensible prison to keep you from ever having to act? Welcome to the ultimate weapon of the overthinking mind. Welcome to perfectionism. It's the what-if loop dressed up in a three-piece suit. It's the saber-toothed tiger response disguised as a quality control inspector. It is the most sophisticated, insidious, and devastating form of self-sabotage because it feels like a virtue. I'm not a procrastinator, you say. I'm a perfectionist. You say it with a hint of pride. You say it as if it's a noble burden, a sign of your superior intelligence and taste. Let's call it what it is. Perfectionism is not a pursuit of excellence. It is a flight from vulnerability. It is not a high standard. It is a high wall built to protect you from the threat of criticism. It is, quite simply, the most elegant form of paralysis. In the last chapter, we forged your launch button, the 5-second decision. You now have the tool to 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go, and start. You have the activation energy to get the car moving. But what happens in second 6? What happens the moment you launch? The moment your hands hit the keyboard? The moment you open your mouth? Perfectionism is what happens. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go! I'm writing. And then second 6. Wait, is that the best first sentence? Is the tone right? Maybe I should use a different word. Let me check a thesaurus. Actually, this whole angle is wrong. I should rethink the entire structure. Delete. The car moved 1 inch, and you just slammed the brakes, got out, and decided to re-engineer the engine. You are right back in the loop. You are right back to overthinking. This is the wall you hit. You've used the 5-second decision to launch yourself out of the hesitation gap, only to crash into the perfectionism wall. Today, we are dismantling that wall. We are going to rip the sophisticated mask off this fear and see it for what it truly is. Let's go back to the brain science. Why does your brain crave perfection? Why does it demand it? Because perfect is the only standard your amygdala, your inner alarm, will accept. Remember, your amygdala is ancient. It's binary. It doesn't do nuance. It sees the world in 2 categories. Safe, certain, known, guaranteed survival. Dangerous, uncertain, new, risky, potential saber-toothed tiger. When you are about to execute, to ship the project, to send the email, to give the speech, you are in the realm of uncertain. What is the primary threat your amygdala is trying to protect you from in the modern world? Criticism, rejection, failure. To your ancient primal brain, social rejection is death. In our tribal past, being cast out of the group was a death sentence. You wouldn't survive on your own. Your amygdala knows this. Its prime directive is, do not get rejected, at all costs. So, what is the only strategy your brain can devise to guarantee 100% that you will not be criticized, rejected, or fail? It must be perfect. If the work is perfect, it cannot be criticized. If it cannot be criticized, you will not be rejected. If you are not rejected, you will survive. Do you see? Your obsession with perfect is not about the work. It is about survival. It is your amygdala demanding a 100% guarantee of safety in a world that is, by its very nature, not 100% safe. It's an impossible standard, and it is designed to be. Perfectionism is your brain's ultimate stop program. It's a goal you can never reach, which guarantees that you will never have to face the threat of putting your work out into the world. It's an infinite loop of not good enough yet that keeps you safely, miserably in the prison of planning and revising forever. What is the real cost of this? It's not just that you're slow. The cost is data. Remember the execution principle from Chapter 4? Clarity is the consequence of action. Action is how we get data. Action is sticking your hand out in the dark room to find the furniture. Perfectionism is the act of refusing to stick your hand out in case you do it wrong. It's sitting in the dark, paralyzed, trying to think your way to a perfect map of the room. It will never, ever work. You stay in your head, tweaking your imaginary map. Maybe the table is here. No, I bet it's there. Meanwhile, the person who believes in action is already on the other side of the room. They've got the data. They bumped their shin, a failure, and that data allowed them to correct their path and find the light switch. Your pursuit of perfect is robbing you of the one thing you actually need to improve: feedback. You are so terrified of a negative result that you are sacrificing any result. And this is where we get to the core psychological damage. Perfectionism, by its very nature, fuses your self-worth to your performance. It creates a toxic, brittle, and dangerous equation in your mind. I am equal my work. If my work is perfect, then I am good. If my work is flawed, if it is criticized, if it fails, then I am a failure. This is why it hurts so much. This is why you overthink. The stakes are impossibly high. You're not just editing a report, you are defending your right to exist. You are not just launching a product, you are putting your entire self-worth up for public judgment. No wonder you're paralyzed. Who could possibly act under that kind of pressure? We have to break this equation. We have to dynamite it. We are going to surgically, permanently separate who you are from what you do. And we will do it with a new framework. The old framework was execute perfectly. Your new framework is execute imperfectly. The imperfect action framework. This is your new operating system. This is the software update that runs after your 5-4-3-2-1 launch. It's built on two core revolutionary principles. Principle number 1. The new goal is motion, not perfection. Your new standard for success is no longer, was this flawless? Your new standard is, did I do it? Your new standard is, did I get it done? We are shifting your entire value system. We are going to start worshiping at the altar of finished, not the altar of perfect. Done is the new perfect. Why? Because done gets you data. Done gets you feedback. Done breaks the cortisol loop. Done gives you a dopamine hit of completion. Done proves to your brain that you are a person who finishes things, rebuilding self-trust. Perfect does none of those things. Perfect keeps you in a cortisol bath, erodes your self-trust, and gives you zero data. Good enough is not a sign of mediocrity. It is a strategic weapon against your fear. It is a conscious, intelligent choice to prioritize momentum over an impossible standard. From now on, I want you to adopt the concept of the minimum viable action, MVA. This comes from the tech world's minimum viable product. The idea is, what is the smallest, fastest version of this thing I can create and ship to see if it even works? Not the perfect 100-page business plan. The MVA is a one-page summary you can show to one potential customer. Not the perfect 10,000-word article. The MVA is a 300-word outline you can send to an editor. Not the perfect workout routine. The MVA is putting on your shoes and walking for 10 minutes. This is an imperfect execution of your perfect 60-minute plan. You 5-4-3-2 go and you execute the MVA. You get it done. You ship it. This bypasses the perfectionism wall entirely. The goal is so small, so imperfect by design that your amygdala doesn't have time to build a case against it. Principle number 2. There is no failure, there is only data. This is the second critical part of the framework. This is how we permanently separate your worth from your work. We are going to reframe your entire concept of failure. From this moment forward, failure is no longer in your vocabulary. It does not exist. There is only one thing: data. Your amygdala is terrified of failure because it sees it as a verdict, a final, permanent judgment on you. From now on, you will teach your PFC to see failure as data, as information, as a non-emotional input that you will use to iterate. You are no longer a defendant on trial where a mistake means you are guilty. You are a scientist running an experiment. What does a scientist do when an experiment fails? Do they burst into tears, throw their lab coat on the ground, and declare, "I am a terrible scientist and I will never be loved"? No. They dispassionately look at the result. They say, "Interesting. Hypothesis number 1 was incorrect." They open their lab notebook and they write down the data. Result: the compound did not react as expected. And then they use that data to form hypothesis number 2. This is your new identity. You are a scientist in the lab of your life. Every action you take is an experiment. You send the imperfect email. It gets no reply. Old perfectionist brain: "I knew it. The email was stupid. I'm a terrible writer. I'm a spammer. I've failed." Self-worth destroyed. New executor brain: "Data. The subject line, 'hello,' had a 0% open rate. Next action. Try a new experiment with the subject line, 'quick question about your project.' Self-worth irrelevant. You are a scientist learning." You give the imperfect presentation. You stumble on a word and a slide has a typo. Old perfectionist brain: "I ruined it. Everyone saw the typo. They think I'm an idiot. I'm a fraud. I'm never speaking again." Paralyzed. New executor brain: "Data. Stumbled on the synergy slide. Next action. Practice that slide 3x more." Data. A typo got through. Next action. Ask a colleague to proofread for 5 minutes. You are improving. Do you feel the power in this? The instant you reframe failure as data, you disarm your amygdala. You cut the cord between the outcome and your identity. The tiger is gone. Criticism is no longer a threat. It's just more data. A no is not a rejection. It's just data. This is how you build resilience. This is how you build unstoppable momentum. The 5-second decision launches you. The imperfect action framework catches you. It gives you a safe, logical, and non-emotional way to process the results of your action, whatever they may be. This is the 1-2 punch that kills overthinking. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. You launch. Execute imperfectly. You aim for done, not perfect. Collect the data. You reframe the outcome, good or bad, as information. Iterate. You use the data to inform your next 5-second decision. This is the loop of execution. It is the opposite of the cortisol loop of overthinking. This is a dopamine loop of action, data, learning, and growth. You will finally embrace good enough as the only key to getting anything done. You will surgically separate your self-worth from your performance. You will stop being a prisoner of your own high standards and start being an executor who gets results. You are no longer on trial. You are in the lab. Now, how do you make this new loop automatic? How do you turn this from a strategy you have to think about into a default setting? It's time to build your execution muscle. How do you make execution your new default setting? How do you make that 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 go so automatic that you just do it? How do you get to a place where the gap between intention and action isn't a vast, terrifying canyon you have to psych yourself up to leap across, but a simple, unconscious step you take as automatic and effortless as brushing your teeth? For your entire life, execution has felt like a struggle. It's felt like that car in Chapter 3, that dead weight, impossible to budge massive inertia. Every single act of doing has required a monumental, exhausting, conscious push. You have to rally your willpower. You have to give yourself a pep talk. You have to fight your own brain tooth and nail just to get that 1 inch of movement. It's exhausting. It's unsustainable. You don't just want to be a person who can execute. You want to be a person who does execute. You want to be an executor. This is the chapter where we build that new identity from the ground up. We are going to stop forcing action and start automating it. We are going to turn this new difficult strategy into a new effortless default. How? We are going to take the very force that built your prison and we are going to use it to build your palace. Let's talk about neuroplasticity again. In Chapter 3, this was our villain. We saw how every time you hesitated, you practiced inaction. You strengthened the neural pathways of avoidance. You built a 6-lane superhighway in your brain, a hesitation highway that became your default, automatic response to any challenge. You practiced so well, you became a black belt at overthinking. Well, the black belt is about to change disciplines. Neuroplasticity is not your enemy. It is your greatest ally. It is your brain's built-in superpower. It is the simple, biological promise that you are not fixed. Your brain is, and always has been, a dynamic, moldable, rewiring machine that is constantly waiting for new instructions. It doesn't care what you tell it to practice. It will simply get good at whatever you repeatedly do. Whatever you practice, you become. For years, you have unconsciously practiced hesitation. Starting today, you will consciously practice execution. We are going to stop visiting the execution footpath and we are going to turn it into a superhighway of its own. We are going to do this by treating action not as a one-time decision, but as a muscle you must build. Think about it. You don't go to the gym once and come out with a bicep. You don't lift one heavy weight and then declare yourself strong. You go day after day, and you do the reps. The first rep is hard. The 10th rep is a struggle. The next day, you are sore. But you go back. You do the reps. And over time, something miraculous happens. The muscle adapts. It grows. The pathways that fire that muscle get faster and more efficient. What was once impossibly heavy becomes your warm-up. This is exactly what we are going to do inside your brain. We are going to build your execution muscle. What is one rep? Every time you use the 5-second decision, Chapter 6, instead of hesitating, that is one rep. Every time you execute imperfectly, Chapter 7, instead of obsessing over perfect, that is one rep. Every time you name it to tame it, Chapter 5, instead of fusing with your anxiety, that is one rep. Each of these actions is a single conscious lift. Each time you do it, you are sending an electrical signal down that new, tiny, overgrown execution footpath in your brain. The first time, the signal is weak. It has to fight its way through the weeds. It feels hard. It feels unnatural. But the second time, the path is a tiny bit clearer. The 100th time, the signal flies. The 1000th time, you have built a new highway. You have laid down myelin, the fatty sheath that insulates neural pathways and makes them lightning fast. While you're doing this, something else is happening. That old 6-lane hesitation highway, it's getting less traffic. The weeds are starting to grow. It's falling into disuse. This is called synaptic pruning, your brain's use it or lose it principle. You are literally, physically, structurally resculpting your brain. This is not a metaphor. This is the biological work we are here to do. But you don't build a muscle with random, haphazard reps. You go to the gym with a plan, a structure. You use a system. If we are going to automate this, if we are going to make execution your new default, we need a system. We need to learn the architecture of automaticity. This architecture is called the habit loop. We've mentioned this before, but now we are going to make it our primary blueprint. Your basal ganglia, your habit center, is the part of your brain that wants to be on autopilot. Its entire job is to turn complex routines into unconscious habits to save energy. It runs on a simple three-step loop. Cue, the trigger that tells your brain to run the program. Routine, the physical or mental action you perform. Reward, the payoff that tells your brain, that was good, save that loop for future use. This loop is why your overthinking is a habit. Cue, you face a hard task. Routine, you overthink, analyze, research, and ultimately avoid the task. Reward, you get a hit of relief. The anxiety of facing the task dips. Phew, safety. That feeling of relief is the dopamine hit that has cemented your avoidance. To build a new habit, we cannot fight this loop. We must hijack it. We must replace the old routine with a new one, and, most critically, we must link it to a better reward. Let's design your new execution loop. Step 1. Define your cues. You can't start a habit if you don't know what triggers it. The cue is the starting pistol. For the overthinker, our cues are often feelings. Your primary cue is going to be the very first sensation of hesitation or anxiety. That's right. The problem is now the trigger. The feeling of, I don't want to. The feeling of, what if? The feeling of, I'll do it later. The feeling of your stomach tightening. That is your new cue. You will learn to recognize it with the mindfulness you practiced in Chapter 5. Ah, you'll say, there it is. That's my cue to act. Other cues can be time. The alarm goes off at 6 a.m. Cue. Location. Sitting down at your desk. Cue. Event. A difficult email lands in your inbox. Cue. Event. A meeting starts. Cue. Get specific. For the next few days, just be a scientist. Notice your cues for avoidance. Write them down. When the phone rings from an unknown number, I feel anxiety. Great, that's a cue. When I open my blank document, I feel overwhelmed. Perfect, that's a cue. Step 2. Define your new routine. This is the action you will take immediately after the cue. This is where everyone fails. They make the routine too big. Cue. Alarm goes off. Bad routine. Write my masterpiece. This is a goal, not a routine. It's a tiger. Your amygdala will never let you automate this. Your new routine must be tiny. It must be the minimum viable action from Chapter 7. The routine is not the whole workout. The routine is just put on the shoes. Let's rebuild our old broken habits. Old habit. Cue. Alarm goes off. Routine. Overthink the day. Hit the snooze button. Reward. Fleeting relief. 10 more minutes of safety. New execution habit. Cue. Alarm goes off. Routine. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Feet on floor. Reward. We'll get to this in a second. Old habit. Cue. Feel anxiety about a big project. Routine. Check email or get coffee. Productive procrastination. Reward. Temporary distraction from the hard thing. New execution habit. Cue. Feel anxiety about a big project. Routine. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Open the document and write one imperfect sentence. Your MVA. Reward. This is the critical part. The routine is always your 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go, paired with an impossibly small physical action. It's the bump to the turntable. That's it. That is the entire routine you are trying to build. Step 3. Engineer your reward. This is the most important step. This is the dopamine. This is the cement that hardens the new pathway. If you do the new routine, but you don't get a reward, your brain will not save the habit. It will say, that was hard, and I got nothing for it. Forget it. Back to the old way. The reward must be immediate. It can't be, I'll feel good when the project is done in 3 months. Your primal brain doesn't understand 3 months. It understands right now. So we have to create one. We have to manually give ourselves a dopamine hit for completing the tiny routine. This is going to feel ridiculous. I need you to embrace the ridiculous. This is childish and stupid. Your PFC, your CEO, is going to say, "This is childish and stupid." You need to tell your PFC. You are not talking to your PFC. You are talking to your primal, dopamine-driven basal ganglia. You are training a puppy. And you don't train a puppy with a 401k plan. You train it with a treat. The instant, the second you complete your tiny routine, you must celebrate. You 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and your feet hit the floor? Before you do anything else, you give yourself the reward. Pump your fist and whisper, "Yes." Say out loud, "I did it." Mentally visualize a giant, satisfying checkmark. Clap your hands once. You 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and write one sentence? Lean back. Take a deep breath. Say, "That's a win." Tap your desk twice as a job done signal. This is your win. This tiny, silly act of celebration is a chemical event. You are manually triggering a small hit of dopamine. In that instant, your brain forges a link. Oh, wow, the cue, alarm, led to the routine 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 feet on floor, and that led to this dopamine hit. That felt good. That's a good loop. Let's save that one. Let's make that one easier to run tomorrow. You are literally hijacking your brain's reward system, taking the dopamine that used to come from avoidance and transferring it to action. You are building your execution muscle one rep at a time, and you are spotting that muscle every single time with a shot of win. This is how you build a new identity. You are not trying to be a person who executes. You are being a person who collects wins. You just collected a win. You did it. You are already an executor. You just proved it. This is the system. This is the blueprint for sculpting your brain. Cue, the feeling of hesitation. Routine, 5, 4, 3, 1 to a single, imperfect, minimum viable action. Reward, an immediate, physical, silly celebration of your win. This is the practice. This is what you will do 10, 20, 50 times a day. Every tiny win is a new rep. Every rep is a new strand in the cable. Every cable builds the new superhighway. And one day, not far from now, you won't even hear the what if. Your alarm will go off and your feet will just hit the floor. The cue will fire and the new routine will run completely, blissfully on autopilot. You will have made execution your new default. You will have become an executor. But what happens when you act and you fail? What happens when your imperfect action leads to a bad result? How do you stop that data from being felt as a tiger all over again? That's next. It's time to learn how to live the data-driven life. What if every mistake was no longer a reason to stop, but simply a roadmap for your next move? What happens when you do it? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. You execute imperfectly. You build your new habit loop. You finally ship the project, send the email, or give the presentation. You have acted. And then it comes. The feedback. It arrives in an email with a cold, one-line subject, "Some concerns." It comes in a meeting when a colleague says, "I'm not sure this is the right direction." It comes as a no, a rejection, a pass. Or it comes as silence. No reply, no engagement, no sale. What does that feel like? Be honest. It's a physical blow. It's a hot, sinking dread in your stomach. It's a flush of shame that creeps up your neck. Your amygdala, which you so carefully tamed, explodes. The saber-toothed tiger you thought you'd bypassed is suddenly in the room, and it is you. In that instant, all your new systems, all your logic, all your execution principles, they all evaporate. And the old, familiar voice of your overthinking mind comes roaring back, louder than ever. I knew it. I told you it wasn't perfect. I'm an idiot. I'm a fraud. They see it. They all see it. I should have just waited. I should have planned more. I never should have tried. And just like that, you are frozen again. One piece of negative data, one failure, doesn't just stop you. It shatters you. It sends you reeling right back into the prison of what if, and now the walls are twice as high. Now you have proof that it's safer inside. It might be months before you dare to act again. This is the overthinker's core vulnerability. This is the self-sabotage failsafe. It's that toxic, brittle equation we exposed in Chapter 7. My performance equals my self-worth. As long as this equation is running in your subconscious, you will never be a true executor. Why? Because every single action you take is a high-stakes gamble with your entire identity. You are putting your self on the line every single time. The stakes are too high. The fear of that feedback, that verdict, will always be more powerful than your desire to act. This is why, for the overthinker, feedback is dreaded. You see it as a verdict, a judgment, a final, binding sentence on your capability and your worth. Today, we shatter that equation for good. We are going to install the final piece of software, the one that makes you resilient, the one that transforms you from someone who is broken by feedback to someone who is built by it. It's time to stop living a verdict-driven life and start living a data-driven life. If the overthinker dreads feedback, the executor hunts it. The executor craves feedback. The executor thrives on failure. Why? Because the executor has permanently severed the cord between who I am and what I do. The executor has fully, 100% embraced the identity we created in Chapter 7. You are not on trial. You are a scientist in the lab. Let's reread that. I am not on trial. I am a scientist in the lab. Your actions are not performances. They are experiments. The outcomes are not verdicts. They are data. When an experiment fails, the scientist is not ashamed. They are curious. They are excited. They just discovered something. They just learned one more way not to make a light bulb. They are one step closer to the answer. The failure is not the end of the road. It is the data that illuminates the road. This is the mindset we are going to build. It's not just a nice idea. It is a tactical system for processing the world. It's about building a feedback filter that allows you to engage your prefrontal cortex in the exact moment your amygdala is trying to hijack you. When that negative email comes in, your amygdala will fire. The jolt will happen. We can't stop that. Remember, it's faster than logic. But just like in Chapter 5, we are going to build a firewall. We are going to create a pause between the emotional jolt and your response. This is your new feedback processing drill. It's a 3-step system to engage your PFC and disarm the emotional charge of any feedback, positive or negative. Step 1. The data interrupt. The pause. You're in the meeting. Your colleague just said, "Honestly, I think this whole approach is wrong." Bam! The amygdala fires. The cortisol floods. You feel the heat in your face. Your primal instinct is to do one of two things. Fight. Get defensive. You don't understand. You're wrong. I thought of that, and here's why you're an idiot. Flee/freeze. Shut down. Stare. Say nothing. He's right. I'm a fraud. I've failed. You spiral internally. You will do neither. Your new, trained 5-second decision routine is this. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You take one tactical breath, Chapter 5. And then you say one simple, disarming phrase. You can say it out loud or just to yourself. Thank you for that data. Let's break down why this is a neurological nuke. By saying or thinking, "Thank you for that data," you are performing multiple pattern interrupts at once. You interrupt your own amygdala. You have just labeled the attack. It's not an attack. It's not a criticism. It's not a verdict. You have reframed it in real time as data. This is name it to tame it on steroids. You have immediately engaged your PFC, your CEO, forcing it to categorize the information, not feel it. You interrupt the other person. They are braced for a fight or flee response. They are expecting defensiveness. When you respond with calm, appreciative curiosity, you disarm their amygdala. You have just taken control of the entire emotional temperature of the room. You buy yourself time. This simple phrase creates a cognitive space. That 3-second pause is all your PFC needs to come fully back online, pushing past the cortisol flood and getting back into the CEO's chair. This is your first rep. Interesting data. I'm processing that data. It doesn't matter what you say as long as you semantically reframe the event from verdict to data. Step 2. The data extraction process, the analysis. Now that your PFC is online, you will not engage with the emotion of the feedback. You will engage with the information. You are the scientist. You have just received a result from your experiment. Your job is not to question, "Am I a good scientist?" Your job is to analyze the result. You must become a ruthless, emotional data extractor. You will ask yourself 3 simple, objective questions. What is the objective piece of data here? You must strip away all the emotional, subjective language. Feedback. This is the worst report I've ever seen. It's lazy and completely misses the point. Old, overthinker brain. They think I'm lazy. I missed the point. I failed. New, executor brain. The objective data is 1. The report did not meet the objective. Missed the point. 2. There are perceived gaps in the work. Lazy. 3. The emotional tone of the reader is angry. This is also data. What part of this data is useful? Not all data is good data. You are the scientist. You get to decide. The report did not meet the objective. This is useful, high-quality data. There are perceived gaps. This is useful data. I need to find out what those perceived gaps are. The reader is angry. This is useful data. It means the stakes of this report were higher than I thought. It's the worst report ever. This is hyperbole. It's emotional noise. It is not useful data. Discard. It's lazy. This is a judgment, not data. But it's a clue. It points to the data. The real data is, the report is missing section X, Y, or Z. What new questions does this data create? A good scientist loves new questions. Useful data. The report missed the point. New question. What was the core point I missed? Can I get clarification on the original objective? Useful data. Perceived gaps. New question. What specific sections were you expecting to see that were not there? Do you see what's happening? You are no longer cowering. You are not defending. You are leaning in. You are engaging. You are hunting for more data. You have transformed in an instant from the victim of the feedback to the driver of the conversation. Step 3. The next iteration plan, the action. This is the final non-negotiable step. You must close the loop. An overthinker ruminates on the data. I can't believe he said that. An executor acts on the data. You must immediately translate your analysis into a next iteration plan. This is how you prove to your brain that the failure was, in fact, a win. It was a productive event. This plan must be concrete and immediate. Report missed the objective and had gaps. Analysis. I misunderstood the brief and rushed the conclusion. Next iteration plan. Today, send a 1-line email. Thank you for the data. To make sure I'm on the right track, could you clarify if the primary objective was A or B? This is an MVA, minimum viable action. Tomorrow, rewrite the executive summary based on the new data. Future rule. This is the big win. For all future reports, I will send a one-paragraph outline for approval before I write the full draft. Boom! Do you feel that? That's the real win. That failure wasn't a failure at all. It was an investment. It was a lesson that just taught you how to create a system that will prevent this entire category of failure from ever happening again. The failure didn't make you weaker. It made your process stronger. You are no longer fragile, a thing that breaks under pressure. You are now anti-fragile, a system that uses pressure, shocks, and failures to get stronger, smarter, and more resilient. This is the new reward. In Chapter 8, we trained our brain to crave the win of starting, the fist pump, the yes. Now we are training our brain to crave the win of learning. The aha moment when you find the useful kernel of data, that's a dopamine hit. The feeling of control when you create a next iteration plan, that's a dopamine hit. You are literally rewiring your brain to love being wrong, because you have taught it that being wrong is the fastest, most efficient path to getting it right. You will stop fearing failure and start using it. You will stop being a person who is frozen by feedback and become a person who is fueled by it. You will hunt for no's. You will seek out criticism. Not because you are a masochist, but because you are a scientist and you know that the bad data is the best data. It's the data that contains the roadmap for your next execution. You now have all the tools. You know why you overthink, ancient software. You know how to break the loop, the execution principle. You know how to start, the 5-second decision. You know what to do, execute imperfectly. You know how to make it a habit, the execution muscle. And now you know how to handle the results, the data-driven life. The war in your mind is over. The system is complete. There is only one thing left to do. It's time to live it. It's time to step into your new identity. It's time to embrace the executive mindset. Who would you be if you were no longer a prisoner of your own thoughts? Seriously, stop for a moment and truly ask yourself, who would you be? What would you do tomorrow morning if that crushing analytical fog of what if simply wasn't the first thing you woke up to? What would your life look like in 1 year, in 5, if the gap between your ambition and your action was no longer a canyon of fear, but a single, simple, automatic step? Think of the energy you would reclaim, the sheer cognitive horsepower you've been wasting day after day in that 2 a.m. courtroom in your mind, endlessly litigating the same fears. What could you build with that energy? What problems could you solve? What life could you create? The person you're picturing, that version of you who is decisive, who has momentum, who acts, is not a fantasy. It is not some other you that you have to hope for. It is the person you have just been trained to be. This entire book has been a journey. It has been a systematic deconstruction of your old primal prison and a step-by-step blueprint for your new executive identity. We began this journey by defining the enemy. We found you trapped in the prison of what if, Chapter 1, and we discovered you weren't broken or lazy. You were a perfectly healthy human running ancient software. You were a modern-day warrior trying to fight modern battles, but your brain's operating system was still stuck on saber-toothed tiger defense. We opened the machine. We looked at the biology of your indecision, Chapter 2, and saw how that ancient software was creating a toxic cortisol loop. We saw how your own brilliant mind was being hijacked, how your amygdala's inner alarm was constantly drowning out your prefrontal cortex's CEO. We faced the hard truth of the negativity bias, that your brain is designed to find the snake in the grass, not the opportunity in the clearing. We felt the true compounding cost of this. In Chapter 3, we saw how every act of hesitation wasn't just a pause. It was practice. You were using the divine power of neuroplasticity against yourself. You were building a 6-lane hesitation highway, getting better and better, faster and faster at the one thing you didn't want to do, stopping. You were eroding your self-trust, one broken promise at a time, until your overthinker label felt less like a habit and more like an identity. That was your prison, built of biology, reinforced by habit, and locked from the inside by a false identity. Then, in part 2, we found the key. It was the single most important idea in this entire book, the execution principle, chapter 4. We shattered the great lie that you must think your way to clarity. We replaced it with the liberating truth: clarity is the consequence of action. You don't think your way into a new way of acting, you act your way into a new way of thinking. Action, we learned, is the antidote. It is the physical, chemical pattern interrupt that breaks the cortisol loop and summons a new chemical, dopamine. With this key in hand, we began the work. We became neurosculptors. We built your firewall. In Chapter 5, we learned how to tame the inner tiger, not by fighting it, but by managing it. We learned the bottom-up drill of tactical breathing to send a safe signal to your body. And we learned the top-down drill of naming it to tame it, using your PFC to label the fear, creating a cognitive pause between the jolt and your response. We built your launch button. In Chapter 6, we confronted the hesitation gap, that split second where ambition dies. And we installed a weapon to cross it, the 5-second decision. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. We learned how this simple countdown is a cognitive jumpstart, a form of activation energy that hijacks the hijack and forces your brain from think mode to act mode. We built your safety net. In Chapter 7, we dismantled your most sophisticated enemy, perfectionism. We ripped off its high standards mask and saw it for what it was, your amygdala's fear of criticism. We diffused its power by creating a new framework: execute imperfectly. We gave up the impossible goal of perfect and embraced the powerful, data-driven goal of done. We learned to hunt for the minimum viable action, prioritizing motion over mastery. Finally, in Part 3, we turned these new tools into a new life. We became habit architects. In Chapter 8, we took back the power of neuroplasticity. We learned to consciously build your execution muscle one rep at a time. We hijacked the habit loop, cue, routine, reward, turning the feeling of hesitation into our new cue to act. We used the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 to MVA as our new routine. And most critically, we manually engineered our new reward, the immediate chemical win of celebration, training our primal brain to love the feeling of action. And then, in the last chapter, we made ourselves invincible. We learned how to live the data-driven life, Chapter 9. We shattered the toxic equation that my performance equals my self-worth. We stepped out of the courtroom where we were on trial and into the lab, where we are the scientist. We learned to see failure and criticism not as verdicts, but as data. We created the feedback processing drill: pause, analyze, iterate, transforming us from fragile, breaking under pressure, to anti-fragile, getting stronger from pressure. And so, here you are. You are not the same person who started this book. The prison is gone. The manual is in your hand. The tools are on your belt. The war in your mind is over. Not because the enemy has been vanquished, your amygdala will always be there, trying to protect you, but because you are no longer a victim. You are a warrior. You are no longer a prisoner. You are the warden. You have earned a new identity. It is time to claim it. You are an executor. What does this mean? What is the executive mindset? It is not about being an emotionless robot. It is not about being busy or hustling 24/7. It is the opposite. It is about being so effective, so decisive, and so present that you have more time for rest, for play, for life. The executive mindset is a fundamental shift in how you see yourself and the world. An executor is a neurosculptor. You no longer see your brain as a black box that does things to you. You no longer say, "I am anxious." You say, "I am noticing a feeling of anxiety, and I know which tool to use." You see your mind as a physical, plastic, moldable system that you have the privilege and responsibility to sculpt. You are no longer at the effect of your biology. You are the cause of your new biology. An executor is a habit architect. You no longer rely on the finite, fickle, and totally unreliable resource of willpower or motivation. That's for amateurs. You know that willpower is a battery that drains, but habits are a program that runs for free. You are a systems thinker. You do the hard work once, building the habit loop so that you can run on autopilot forever. You are lazy in the smartest way possible. You automate your success. An executor is a data hunter. This is the most profound shift. You are no longer afraid of reality. You are no longer terrified of a no. You are not avoiding criticism. In fact, you hunt for it. You welcome it. You thrive on it. Because you, as a scientist, know that negative data is the best data. It's the data that points to the flaw in the experiment. It's the data that shows you the roadmap to the solution. You have an appetite for the truth, however hard it may be, because you know that truth, data, is the only thing that can set you free from what-if, fantasy. An executor is a momentum worshiper. You have come to understand the first law of cytological physics, inertia. An object at rest stays at rest. You know that the only antidote to stuck is push. You are now, by default, for action. You would rather act and get data and be wrong than wait to be perfect and stay paralyzed. You know that the smallest push, the most imperfect action, builds the momentum that makes the next push easier. You are no longer in the business of planning. You are in the business of launching. This is who you are now. This is not a mask you wear. This is the identity you have built, one rep at a time. So, what happens now? The book is over. You close the final page. The real work begins. This is not a magic pill. This is a practice. This is a daily commitment to doing the reps. This is a moment-to-moment commitment to running the new program. There will be a day, maybe tomorrow, maybe next week, when you will wake up, and you will fail. You will fall right back into the old loop. You will hit the snooze button. You will stare at the blank page. You will let the what-ifs win. You will feel the paralysis creep back in. In that moment, the old identity, the overthinker, will rush in and try to reclaim its territory. It will whisper, "See, this book didn't work. This is just who you are. You can't change." This is the most important moment of your new life, because you will have a choice. The old you would have believed that voice. You would have fused with it. You would have spiraled into guilt and shame, which would have led to more inaction, reinforcing the failure. But the new you, the executor, you will not spiral. You will not ruminate. You will simply run the system. You will recognize the loop. Ah, there it is, the hesitation highway. How familiar. You will label it dispassionately. I am noticing a cortisol response. My amygdala is firing. You will use your bottom-up tool. You will take one tactical breath. And then you will use your launch button. You will not think about it. You will not negotiate with the feeling. You will just do it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. And you will take one minimum viable action. You will put one foot on the floor. You will write one word. And then you will pump your fist. You will get your win. And just like that, you will be back. The momentum will be yours. The spiral will be broken. A failure will have been converted into a data point and an iteration in less than 30 seconds. That is the executive mindset. It is not about never falling. It is about how fast you get up. The war is over. You have the manual. You have the tools. You have the identity. You are no longer a prisoner of what if. You are an architect of what is. You are no longer a thinker. You are an executor. The age of execution has begun. Now, go execute.